In this corner, we have Anna Kasparian versus Anna Kasparian? Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America.
And you ain't black.
The first time ever any...
What are you people?
We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent. This is Middle America. We are not left wing. We're not right wing. We're just right. I guess that's how we've been saying it. To be honest with you, dear listener, we originally started this channel because we were trying to get, some sort of middle ground. Maybe we could have some sanity. But guys, there have been so many things that have happened to where it's very hard to tell who's left, who's right. And I think those distinctions are probably fading away as the economy gets more and more desperate. But one of the major divides that is not fading away is the entire question of the tension between the right to privacy versus the right to living in context of Roe v. Wade and the abortion question. Now, this video is not going to be about my personal views on abortion. Everybody knows what my views are. If not, you can check out, all you have to do is search in the channel and just put abortion in there, and there's multiple debates, there's presentations, etc., etc. So if you're interested in my view, you can check it out here. What I actually want to do on this video real quick, guys, is show you guys the clip that I just saw. Most of the time when I address issues, it's because one of you beautiful people has sent me a video and says, hey, man, you got to check this out. The great and powerful Izzy Jimenez had already sent me a video of Anna's, apparently, I don't want to say, I don't want to say meltdown, but she was pretty impassioned a couple days ago, obviously because of the Roe v. Wade decision, which, to be honest with you guys, just on a real practical mathematical level, people on the pro-choice side are constantly saying that 70% of the people in this country are pro-choice. And so my question has always been, well, great. If 70% of us are pro-choice, then what's wrong with it going to a vote? Because you would inevitably win. But that's a different discussion. Right now, this is a clip. Apparently, Anna was pretty upset. Okay, so here we go. Anna Kasparian versus Anna Kasparian, according to this video title. Let's check it out.
This full-on attack by individuals on YouTube, on Patreon, presenting themselves as part of the left while simultaneously viciously attacking both the squad, but more importantly, people like Nina Turner, all of the bootlickers for the Democratic Party. Oh,
okay. Because this, this is when, yeah, Tasco says, what do you mean by going to a vote? Well, Tasco, what happens is if you overthrow Roe v. Wade as a judicial decree, then what happens is it goes back to the states, and then the states decide whether or not they want to allow abortion in their state or not. So that's what's going to happen if you don't have a federal sort of decree relative to that. Okay, but I see what's happening here. This was an old episode where Anna, I'm pretty sure the target was Jimmy. Because you guys remember, after Forced to Vote, that was like the definitive sort of end of Jimmy DORE with the Young Turks. Now, Jimmy had already went kind of his own way, but then when Forced to Vote happened, which is essentially saying we're going to withhold making Pelosi the Speaker of the House. Correct me, guys, in the comments section, because I want to make sure I'm right on this one. I'm pretty sure Forced to Vote was we're going to hold Pelosi's sort of Speaker of the House role hostage. and then it would go to a runoff basically or whatever, basically hold her hostage to put a Medicare for All ballot on the floor, even if it's going to get voted down. We all thought it was a pretty brilliant move. And then the Young Turks, along with a lot of other progressives, and I understand people are saying the Young Turks and sellouts. Listen, I'm not as sophisticated as some of you guys are politically, but from my vantage point, I still say that the flavor of the Young Turks is not the same as MSNBC, is not the same as CNN. They're just not, guys. I understand they're not as progressive as people want them to be, and again, I'm a visitor in the house sometimes, and I'm definitely in the bad room now because of my position on this particular topic. But I find it very hard. It would take a lot for me to look at Young Turks and say, oh yeah, they're exactly like CNN or MSNBC. I don't see it. In my view, they're still progressives. I'll say that Jimmy is an idealistic progressive, which is kind of where I am. I'm an idealist. But idealists, in my opinion, are the only ones that actually make history books and change the world. I feel like Young Turks is more practical progressivism. I feel like they're a lot more practical about this is what can be done, this is what can't be done. I don't agree with them on a lot of things. I do agree. I felt like forced to vote was the way to go, and they didn't do it. And Jimmy got upset about it, and instead of simply acknowledging the error, which they eventually did anyway, there was just too much ego to say, yeah, Jimmy, you were right, we were wrong, because, Anna, Jenk, or super educated, came from the academy, yada, yada, yada. And here's Jimmy, the pothead comedian who came up, in my opinion, with one of the most brilliant moves of all time. And I felt like instead of just, owning that, apologizing and say, hey, let's do something in the future, they went completely scorched earth on Jimmy. Now, look, I understand. I've talked to Jimmy personally. In my opinion, I've actually been able to talk to him for an extended amount of time personally. He was very, very generous for this time. Is a real gentle soul. We actually had a theological discussion that I don't know what I'm gonna do with that video. I still have the video. I don't know. Tasco, send me an email. I'll probably send you the raw copy, and you can see how jacked up it is. You are not gonna be able to hear it. But they then tried to Me Too Jimmy. I don't want to rehash the story, but essentially, ever since the forced to vote thing, they've really, in extreme fashion, gone in opposite directions and are not really friends with each other now, which is kind of sad to me, to be honest with you. I think one of the things that progressives have to understand is it is extremely difficult for the little guy to organize. And in my opinion, progressives are the party of the little guy. I really, sure, send me an email. I'll send it to you too. And then you guys can decide whether or not it's worth putting out. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to subtitle it. We'll see. But ever since the forced to vote thing happened, there's just been this giant fracture, and they've never been able to get together. And to me, it was the entire ordeal was pretty sad because I felt like they could do a lot more together than apart. But people took sides, yada yada yada. My whole thing was, I'm not worried about people per se, like the individual persons and the personality cult. I'm more worried about what folks are trying to accomplish. And Jimmy and Young Turks, in my view, making fun of forced to vote, or I just feel like they both need each other. And I think they'd have been so much more powerful together than apart. But I have to say, Jimmy's a little caustic, he's a little brash, he's a little whatever, but for whatever reason, and this is going to sound crazy, but for whatever reason, Jimmy's a really gifted politician. Like, he knows how to manipulate and gerrymander the thing. Force a Vote was a brilliant one. The protest that he's doing a really, really good job doing that. Showing really good instinct, showing up on Tucker Carlson. I think these are all wins for progressives. But these guys have been at each other's throats. Okay, so every so often, TYT, and I honestly don't know why they do this. They publish videos against Jimmy, making fun of him. They did it a couple days ago. I was going to shoot on it, and I decided against it. You know, just all types of crazy things that are personal, that are designed to go after Jimmy. Really terrible stuff. But anyway, here's a clip of Anna talking about Jimmy, because Jimmy has been telling us really since 2016, but especially after Force a Vote, Jimmy's been telling us, look, the Democratic Party is over. As a matter of fact, even prior to Force a Vote, Jimmy was telling us third party. He was. And then Cenk and the rest of them just said, no, we're going to change the party from within. That's where the Justice Democrat stuff, AOC was a Justice Democrat, the Wolf Pack thing, yada, yada, yada. All great. But as we've seen, progressives have been consistently getting their asses handed to them by Republicans and by establishment Democrats. And so Jimmy has been saying, we're done with the Democratic Party, and he specifically called out the squad because AOC was very corporate and political when she was talking about why she wasn't going to do Force a Vote, when the fact of the matter is AOC was intimidated / bribed, whatever you want to call it, by Nancy Pelosi, etc., etc. Okay, so this is Anna commenting on Jimmy saying, I am done with the Democratic Party. I am done with the squad, etc., etc. And then this is Anna's response to Jimmy saying that he's done with the Democratic Party. So here we go.
This full-on attack by individuals on YouTube, on Patreon, presenting themselves as part of the left while simultaneously viciously attacking both the squad, but more importantly, people like Nina Turner. All of the
Okay, so there he goes. This is the other strange thing. I got to tell you guys, one of the strangest things about the kind of progressivism that TYT, their brand, is this thing where anybody who disagrees with them on the left is now a right-winger who's just like secretly a right-winger. So now I've heard this over and over. The first time somebody said this to me in a comment section, I laughed because I thought they were playing a joke. They're like, oh, Jimmy's a right-winger. Glenn Greenwald is a right-winger. Aaron Mate's a right. I was like, what are you talking about? What? These are all right-wingers? What? What do you mean? What are you talking about? They're right-wingers because they disagree with TYT, but they did kind of go there. So now she's trying to, she's obviously alluding to Jimmy, and she's mad at Jimmy for saying that he's done with the squad. But then she goes and does this.
Attacking both the squad, but more importantly, people like Nina Turner. All of the bootlickers for the Democratic Party get so upset at me for telling the...
Okay, so what you guys are seeing is a side-by-side. In the first clip, she's saying, when you see Anna with this little thingy here, that's the second clip. So in the first clip, she's going after Jimmy, and in the second clip, she's explaining how she feels about the Democratic Party after the Roe v. Wade decision, okay? So check this out.
Get so upset at me for telling the truth about how ineffective and pathetic Democratic lawmakers are. Go ahead and cry about it. That includes the squad. I don't care anymore. So while they obsess about us and while they obsess about attacking progressive lawmakers who are our best bet in getting something done in Congress, and what do Democrats do? Do they do anything to prepare for it, to strategize, to ensure that they mitigate the damage that's done by right-wingers in this country? No, they're too busy fundraising. That includes the squad. I don't care anymore. And the fact that he's been a wrecking ball to progressives, and especially people like Nina Turner, who's been a fighter for Medicare for All, tells you everything you need to know about him.
Okay, so he went after progressives. AOC is a progressive. The squad, they're progressive. He is attacking progressives. That tells you everything you need to know about Jimmy.
Period. Him and his clan. No, the reason why...
Him and his clan. We're Jimmy's clan. I'm not in anybody's clan. I'm black, Anna. I can't be in no clan. Maybe the Wu-Tang clan, gang. Wu-Tang. But you see here the back and forth. On the one hand, she's saying it with full confidence. You could tell Jimmy Dore's not a real leftist, and his clan, you could tell they're not real leftists because they speak against progressives. And then she's out here speaking against progressives. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. We continue.
To know about him, period. Him and his clan. No, the reason why I go after Democrats is because A, they deserve it, and B, they deceive us. They lie to us. And they tell us that they're going to fight for us, and they do the exact opposite. They fold immediately. Now, keep in mind,
Anna, you're about to go after Jimmy. This is what the homie's been saying since Force the Vote. Why is it so hard to pick up the telephone and say, Jimmy, I was wrong. Holy shit, you were right. We got to do something together. Nope. You're just going to get on there, Anna, and pretend that you didn't go after this guy for the same thing that you're now going after. Thus, you specifically named the squad, Anna. Holy shit. It's mind-boggling to me. It is mind-boggling to me how right this guy is politically. I mean, God has given this dude some sort of, it's mind-boggling. You know, there's a passage in the Bible that says God uses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. And here you have Jimmy Dore, a self-admitted pothead comedian, yada, yada, not super educated, whatever. And you have all these politicians spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to these elite schools, millions of dollars in advertising, yada, 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 TYT, giant megalith of a internet, YouTube, whatever. And it's Jimmy Dore who's constantly right and ahead of the curve all the time. And I've never seen anything like this phenomena with this guy, but he's right. He was right. And so what you're seeing here is the back and forth. When Anna doesn't, when it's just this plain thing and there's no necklace, that's her criticizing Jimmy. When you see her with the necklace, that's her criticizing the Democrats with Jimmy's words. We continue.
Jimmy Dore doesn't believe that anyone within the Democratic Party is ever going to do anything good for the progressive movement. He doesn't believe that a single one of them is actually going to fight for Medicare for all. And they tell us that they're going to fight for us, and they do the exact opposite. They fold immediately. That includes the squad. I don't care anymore. But of course.
Okay, so Anna Kasparian is now a right-wing grifter. By her logic, she's a right-wing grifter. Then I don't think she's a right-wing grifter. I think she's frustrated at the fecklessness and spinelessness of her party. The problem is that you othered not only Jimmy but his clan. You berated everybody who Jimmy appealed to. It's mind-boggling to me how, here's one thing I will say where TYT and corporate Democrats do have something in common. Again, it's going to take a lot for me to say, oh, TYT are corporate Democrats. But like the sort of like encloistered world that they live in where they don't understand how regular people feel or how the effect on regular people is clear. Like, for example, after the force the vote thing, they didn't even understand their own audience. Like, they put up a poll, should we do force the vote? And I'm pretty sure it was something between 75 to 90% of their audience said, yes, do force the vote. And so it's like, you could tell that there was a clear, like, disconnect between TYT and their own audience, much less regular people. Their own audience, okay? Like, I feel like, okay, that's a problem, I think. I think that's a problem. Notice how Jenk is silent. Yeah, it was 89%. Thank God I got Assure in here. Assure knows all the tea. 89. That's basically 9 out of 10 people said yes, TYT, we should do force the vote. I mean, during that entire time, they were getting absolutely ratioed. This is when the thumbs down thing was still visible on YouTube. I mean, honestly, like one of my weirdest conspiracy theories is that It was about to destroy the channel. You guys know, like, how when Elon took over Twitter or whatever, all of a sudden all these right-wing whatever Twitter guys started getting like 50,000 followers a day or some craziness like that. Like, and then Bernie lost like 100,000 people or whatever, like in one day. Like, I'm definitely certain that YouTube is doing some sort of gerrymandering and manipulation to make Young Turks a bigger type of audience than they really are. But that's a different. All right, we continue.
Bernie Sanders didn't go on Jimmy Dore's show, so he's super salty about that, and has been on the warpath against Bernie and other progressive lawmakers ever since. People who are willing to pick up the slack for these disgusting, feckless, corrupt politicians. That includes the squad. I don't care anymore. We share this with you guys because it's important to know who the hucksters are and who the genuine fighters for change in this country are. And I think that these types of situations make it abundantly clear.
Okay, so Jimmy's now a huckster. He's a huckster. Why do we have to do this in the discourse, guys? Why do we have to, like, go into the secret machinations of a person's heart? How do you know if he's being a huckster? How do you know? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Anna's a huckster. I don't think she's fake. I don't think any of that. I think that she's genuinely angry because this is a policy that can directly affect her. You'll notice Medicare for all, kids in cages, which is all still happening under a blue administration. Afghanistan. Have you ever heard Anna get that loud and crazy about Afghanistan? Have you ever heard her yell and scream and say, what are those women in Afghanistan going to do? You just drone bombed her house, and now she's got to identify her son by dental records. Or they're too poor to have dental records, so Maybe this woman can get, a piece of her son's leg and look in the inner thigh for that birthmark that he had. You never hear Anna, Jack, any of these people screaming their heads off about how and they've been online for 20 years. You never hear Anna going crazy on Bernie and the rest of them for Medicare for all the rest of it. But now there's a policy that can actually directly affect her immediately. And now she's gone completely insane. And again, I might play the meltdown clip at some point. Somebody send me the meltdown clip, because parts of the meltdown clip I actually agreed with, like when she was saying, "Well, we'll play that," but we continue.
As a Democrat, hey Nancy, how's your refrigerator doing? How's your luxury ice cream doing? I bet you do, Nancy. I bet you do. Yeah. Without the strong Republicans, how would you fundraise? You pathetic. How's your luxury ice cream doing? I bet you do, Nancy. I bet you do. Yeah. Without the strong Republicans, how would you fundraise? You pathetic corporate goon. I'm sure he's watching this, and I'm sure he's screaming at the TV, screaming at the computer, probably screaming at his wife as well, because he's been real good at doing that, both on his own show and when he worked here in the studio.
I just think that that's a low character move, Anna. I think that's a low character move to talk about Jimmy and his wife. It has nothing to do with the movement. That's just you trying to get at him. And, on the one hand, I'm grateful that, look, TYT was my first real exposure to progressivism, real exposure to the culture. I would not have been on this Medicare for all jihad that I'm on, and student loan debt and reading Marx and all the rest. I wouldn't if it wasn't for TYT. That's one of the reasons why I'm not just going to flip on them, but that was a low thing you did there, Anna. That was low.
Fuckface.
I've been sick as a dog, guys. Yeah. So I mean, it just shows you the lack of self-awareness, and one of the things that really gets me, guys, is the short memory span that people have, not only in like major issues or whatever, but just in even the things that you've said. Like, she went completely unhinged, said all this stuff about the Democratic Party. That's great. But it's like, is there going to be any acknowledgement that there were other progressives that you alienated, Anna, that you othered, that you mocked? Can you see where you were wrong and where you were deleterious to the movement? Because I'll tell you what, if you're a progressive, guys, this whole jihad between Jimmy and TYT, that's the reason why we haven't been able to move a single inch in any of the major issues that we're trying to accomplish. I've been in the back offices of pro-lifers, and I'm talking about pro-lifers that execute, pro-lifers that our case went to the district court, and we had an amicus brief in about 4 states that signed on with us to go to the Supreme Court. They decided not to review our case. But my point is, I was in it deep with pro-life operatives. And let me tell you something. The strategy that's used, the planning, you guys have no idea. I mean, it was full on psychological warfare. I mean, it really, 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 and we were very effective. So now that I'm on this side, as far as progressivism goes, I just look at the landscape and I'm like, I feel like it's going to take us 50 years to get Medicare for all, because I'm not seeing that organization, and I'm not seeing that unity. You guys, I mean, look, man, I remember, in the pro-life, like, we were hardcore Reformed Protestants, okay? If you don't understand Reformed Protestant culture, it's like the Catholic Church is like literally the Antichrist. I mean, that's literally the theology, is that the Pope is the Antichrist. It's literally, we were out there with Roman Catholics who were praying to Mary, rosary, all that, and we found a way to work. We just overlooked all that shit and found a way to work together. When I look at the progressive, and that's one of the reasons why I'm like, we're going to win as a pro-life. I knew we were going to win because I just knew this type of organization and the consistency and like the ability to take loss after loss after loss after loss and keep pushing. I'm not seeing that on the progressive side, and that's one of the things that really scares me about what we're trying to accomplish as far. And again, I'm saying we, but I'm pro Medicare for all. I'm pro student loan debt relief. I'm pro. Hell, I would love a UBI, since Roe v. Wade is in question now. Like, if we could have like an augmented UBI and bias it towards women, so like not everybody in the country gets UBI. Like, I don't want a monthly check from the government. I'm straight. But like, if we could get so creative about all the different things we could do for women. But to Anna's point, the same people who are supposedly pro-life and worry about babies, which you should, don't give a fuck after. And that's why I want to play that video with Anna, because a lot of people are laughing at Anna's meltdown video, but I think whatever her motives are, I think that the essence of what she was complaining about or upset about is true. I really, really, really believe that. So I'm gonna try to find that clip where Anna goes off, because there were certain portions of Anna's meltdown where I said, holy shit, like she's tight, but she's right. And so I want to play it, and then I want to challenge some of my, I don't care if you're right wing, left wing, whatever, but I just want to challenge people about this topic, because I'm seeing a lot of quote pro-lifers spike the football, and we are nowhere close to victory. Victory is not, okay, girls don't have abortions. Victory is, if a girl gets a positive pregnancy test, she does not completely lose her mind because she's $50,000 in student loan debts and another $90,000 in healthcare, whatever, and she's a single mom juggling kids, going to work, getting COVID, not calling out of work because she can't miss the check, yada, 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 yada. And congratulations, you're 17 years old. You're on your own. Have a great day. That's not a victory for us, guys. That's not a victory. This is, you know, crazy analogy, but, you know, Muhammad's fighting for all these years. You know, his people kicked him out, and then he amassed an army of 10,000 strong, and then he goes back into Mecca. He takes over Mecca, and one of his guys went up to him and he said, Ya Rasulullah, the jihad is over. The jihad is done, and we did it. And Muhammad said, La, no. He said, the jihad has just begun. Because the greater jihad is jihad al-nafs, jihad against yourself, right? Against your own selfishness. Like, if you are pro-life, overturning Roe v. Wade is not winning. I just hope you understand that. That's not winning. Winning is the 17-year-old gets pregnant and she doesn't feel like her life is over because we have a society that tells her, shorty, we'll take care of you. You might have been a little reckless, but now I'm going to dig it in my pocket and I'm going to part with some of my money to make sure you and your kid are okay. That is winning. I'm seeing so many of us spike the football, and we have so many social programs that need to be implemented, even with the amount of abortions that we've had, because we've got a false economy right now, because our economic concerns are not taking into account a lot of women because they're solving the economic problem via abortion. So even with that falsely propping up our economy, we have people living in the poverty line. So all of you people spiking the football over this shit. This is. I mean, honestly, when I found out about this, I didn't jump around, I didn't dance, I didn't cry, I didn't do anything, and I honestly don't feel much different from how I did last week about this topic, because we're nowhere close. We're nowhere close. So anyway, here is Anna's. I think this is Anna's meltdown video. Let's see.
We don't even have affordable childcare in this freaking country. Okay, and the people who fight against those kinds of laws are Republicans.
And yet,
what do you want them to do with their kids when they have to go to work? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? I want them to answer that freaking question. Answer the question. Journalists, ask them the question.
I've watched this before the show. I already lost what her argument was. I heard.
Yeah, look, and this is PragerU, so you guys know what PragerU is, and look, their brand is we're logical, yada yada yada. I see a lot of people making fun of this video. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's something to make fun of, and I'm not going to judge Anna's motive. I'm not going to say she's acting here. She looks really serious, and that is the question that a lot of women are feeling. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of you will look her in the face. First of all, you'll laugh at her, which I don't understand why you're laughing at that, because my single black mother had to deal with me and my two brothers in homeless shelters and all the rest of it. And I mean, I didn't know it as a time. Now I'm a parent, so I get how stressful and absolute. I don't understand how my mother was able to get back on her feet in that situation. But my mother was also very highly educated, very brilliant. She worked in the healthcare field. She had bipolar, okay? So when she was on a downslope, things weren't good for us. But when she was on an upslope, I swear to God, bro, I've seen it happen. We would drive up different states. She'd walk into a fucking hospital. She'd come out, new job, okay? That was my mom, okay? But there are so many single women who do not have those skills and that pedigree. And they're already fucking over, the water's over their head already right now. And a lot of your programs, I'm specifically talking about the right, create the environment where a lot of these girls believe abortion is their only option. So this right here is important if you're pro-life. Let the pro-choices or whatever, if they want to make fun of her, if they want to laugh at her, fine. But we better not. We better not, because this is a valid concern right here. It's valid. And even if she's faking, I don't care, because millions of women and girls are terrified right now because of this. Millions of them are. Because on the one hand, the extreme leftists, their only solution to these situations, oh, just kill the kid, just get an abortion. But our solution is, hey, don't get the abortion, but then, oh, we're going to leave you to your personal responsibility. Okay, but what about our national responsibility? This is the thing that kills me about my friends on the right. Personal responsibility. That's true. Personal responsibility is important. Parental responsibility is important. You know what else is important? Societal responsibility. Like if you're on the right, like there's all this patriotism, blah, blah, blah. Like patriotism is not about the flag, whether or not you stand or kneel for the flag. Patriotism is about the fucking people. So we're talking about American citizens, people on the right. And we're saying, yeah, there's going to be a whole influx of you guys. And, hey, we're not going to help you because of the doctrine of personal responsibility. You shouldn't get any help because of personal responsibility. But where's our national responsibility? Where's the societal responsibility? Like, you got to decide if you're on the right? You're either a complete individualist or you have to acknowledge there's collectivism. The only time the right wing gets collectivist is when you're supposed to pledge absolute fealty to the flag. That's when I started hearing, we're a country, we're a nation, our fathers, all this, all that, and like we're all together. Okay, but when it comes to actual patriotism, where you're actually doing something for your actual citizens, and you have to part with some of your money, now we have a problem. And that's not right. It's not right. And if you're a Christian and you're sitting there spiking the football, like, yeah, fuck those girls. Good for them. Good for the whores. Yeah, blah, blah. Great, man. That's cool. But I'll tell you as a Christian, you're going to stand before God for your apathy to the suffering of other people. I don't talk to a lot of pro-choices about, talking to God and answering for their decisions. But if you're on the team, if you're a Christian and you're on the team, and you're hearing this, and all you can do is laugh, sorry, man, you got the wrong idea here.
Childcare, and I forget. Did you hear what else she said?
Yeah, you got me. I don't remember.
And yet,
the reasoning she's using to do such a thing. Here we go again.
Leave. We don't even have affordable childcare in this freaking country.
Okay,
and the people who fight against those kinds of laws are Republicans.
It's a fact. That's a fact.
and yet,
What do you want them to do with their kids when they have to go to work?
Good question.
What do you want them to do?
Good
What do
question.
you want them to do? I want them to answer that freaking question. Answer the question. Journalists, ask them the question. Ask them. Ask them.
isn't it amazing?
Ask them the goddamn question.
she almost threw her phone there. I love, like, the argument. Men and women are exactly the same. Look at him saying completely. Look at Chank just saying completely sound in this and trying to get a word in edgewise while she's literally screaming to the point that her carotid artery or jugular is gonna pop out of her neck.
In your bones, they don't care about you at all. All of that fundraising, all of that canvassing, all of that hard work on the ground, they can't even get a voting rights bill passed. They're losers.
That's actually, I'll tell you what, that's actually a pretty sad thing when she was talking about all the work on the ground and all the rest of it, because the vast majority of progressive street team folks are generally young people in their late teens, early 20s. And I remember when the DNC pulled that bullshit with Iowa. You remember Iowa, where Bernie was primed to get his big Iowa straw poll bump or whatever, and then Pete Buttigieg somehow was like within 0.5% of Bernie Sanders. You remember that? And I just remember looking at one of these Bernie campaigners or whatever, and you could tell she was completely gut punched. She was so dejected and hurt. And of course, Bernie wouldn't fight because Bernie doesn't understand. He thinks, oh, I can't fight because it's, I don't want it to be about me and my ego. Bernie doesn't understand that he represents literally millions of people. And when he doesn't fight, it's not that he's being nice to the wolves. He's feeding the sheep to the wolves. And these poor young kids who were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and believed in the process and believed, hey, as long as we go out there and inform people or whatever, as soon as they hear about Bernie's platform, they're gonna fall in love with him, blah, blah, blah. And I believe in my bones that's what happened. Who truly believes that Pete Buttigieg was anywhere close in reality to Bernie in Iowa? Stop it. So, these young progressives who've been doing the grunt work on the street, I feel for them. And she's right. They did a lot of work. They were full of belief. Maybe you can call them naive, call them what you want, but they were really trying. And then their party completely gut punched them and disillusioned those people. When I saw that in Iowa, I said the Republicans are just gonna wreck shop. They're going to wreck shop. And if it wasn't for COVID, they would have. And let me tell you something. My conspiracy theory, if you guys want a full disclosure, my conspiracy theory about this whole thing is that it was actually Clarence Thomas's wife who leaked it. That's my conspiracy theory. They want to get all the anger out now so that by the time you really have to vote in the midterms, you're going to be worried again about your gas prices and all the rest of it. There's no way that people are going to be able to maintain this fever pitch of anger and all the rest of it into November. There's no way. So that's what I'm telling you about pro-life coalitions and people on the right. They're light years ahead as far as strategy, as far as they're just brilliant. And if you look at progressives are just, this is going to come off sounding weird, but the progressives are just so pure, especially young progressives. They're so pure that they don't understand the necessity of unit cohesion and organization and all the rest of it, because they truly believe, man, once people hear this, they're going to fall in love with Bernie. Yeah, but you have to deal with that institution of the Democratic National Party that is going to go after you worse than they went after Trump. And you saw it with the Nina Turner AOC squad situation where they hung her out to dry. It's because the progressive unit movement is a young movement, and young people don't understand this stuff. You got to go through so many wars. I mean, when I jumped into the pro-life stuff, I mean, we were in jihad for about 40 years over this shit. So there are so many lessons that were learned, so many losses that were taken, and adjustments that got made. And I'm telling you, if I ever told you guys some of the back office discussions with the movement, you'd be mind blown at how of a well-oiled machine it is. So. I mean, Anna's speaking the truth here. Obviously, the PragerU folks are going to look at it and make fun of her and say, oh, she's being irrational. Look, there's a time for pure logical deduction, and then there's a time for emotion. There really, really is. As long as the emotion is rooted in fact, it can be very effective and it should be used. And in this situation, I think Jen had the right instincts in just letting Anna go off. Because while I virulently disagree with Anna, and I'll tell you this, I'm not going to say that. While I disagree with Anna about this topic, about this specific issue, I'm 100% with her on this one.
Shusha Briggs writes in, thank you, Anna.
Whew. All that.
All right. So... there you go. I believe, and it doesn't really matter what I believe, to be honest with you. I believe that she was articulating real, genuine anger and frustration there, and it was warranted. And I wish pro-lifers would look at that replace Anna Kasparian because she's kind of like Hillary Clinton. I mean, Hillary could say the sky is blue, and I'd be like, I don't know. So I understand, like, because it's Anna and she's yelling or whatever, and she's screeching or whatever. But can you at least look at what she's saying conceptually and put yourself in the shoes? I remember being 16, 17. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And we were in school, and you had all these colleges coming in to speak in first period and trying to recruit us and all this. And everybody around me seemed to just know what they were going to do. I went to the guidance counselor. They'd bring me the guidance counselor, and I would just, they're like, all right, you're getting into senior year. What are you looking at? What do you want to do? I had no idea. I told the guidance counselor, I said, I honestly didn't think I was going to live till I graduate. I was in the Bronx, New York. I was like, I wasn't planning on living this long, so I don't know what I'm going to do. My point is, I was terrified. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have anything. It was just, I'm like, damn, everybody's got down what they want to do. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was terrified. It kept me up, and I've got anxiety in my family. So, but my point is, do you remember when you were young, man, and you were like, man, what am I going to do in my future? Am I going to make it? Am I going to be able to have a job? And how's it like, can you imagine being 17 years old? And yes, there are currently programs to help to a degree, but how many women even know that? Like, this is not even part of our, this should be part and parcel in health class. Like, hey, instead of handing out condoms and shit to kids already know about condoms. How about you have a class in health and say, okay, if some of you guys get pregnant because X percent of you, here's a social program. You can have this. Here's our distance learning, yada, yada, yada. And then test them. How do you go? How do you reach out to DHHS? Blah, blah, blah. Educate these women on what they have. But my point is, can you relate to being a young person, not knowing anything about what you're going to do in your life, seeing how hard it is to just navigate, hearing your parents complain about making ends meet and filling up the gas tank? You're hearing all this at 17 years old. The test comes back with 2 lines, and now you're looking at absolute poverty and the inability to even feed this child. Can you get inside of her soul and say, I would be absolutely terrified? Now, I know what a pro-lifer is going to say to me. He's saying, well, can you relate to the baby who's about to get his arms and legs ripped off? And I know. But my point is, why do we have to choose? Can't we love the baby and love her? Can't we empathize with the baby and empathize with the girl? And can't we create a society that is constantly giving the women the message, you're going to be okay, we're not going to leave you high and dry, because we all have an obligation to one another? So when we're not there, we're not close to there yet, which is one of the reasons why we cannot spike the football. So what I'm asking people to do about this topic, and look, guys, obviously, unfortunately, we're going to have to, I'm going to have an actual licensed OBGYN to come and talk to us about some things. So we're oddly enough, I don't like talking about abortion. It's a very painful topic to me. But obviously, because of what's happening in the news cycle, we're going to have to talk about it more and more. But I would just ask people, when you're thinking about this topic and all the things surrounding it, consider that maybe it's possible that there are things that you've overlooked or haven't considered that should factor in to how these decisions get made. Okay. I think that's the best I could do. They hate the girl because she had sex out of the bounds of marriage. She's a sinner to be condemned according to... I mean... I got to tell you guys, like I said, I've been in the back offices with some very big people in the movement, and I'm not going to lie to you. There's definitely, like, I if I was still with those folks, I would be excised from the movement for what I just said for the last 5 minutes. There's definitely a resentment of women in that movement. Now, here's the crazy part. One of the things, and if I was a pro-choicer, this is something I would do immediately. But they're not doing it. Guys, there are so many. LifeSite News, Rehumanized, the Atheist Collective, all these. We're going to be doing another interview with a atheist, vegan, radical pro-lifer, liberal, progressive girl. I mean, I think one of the problems that the pro-choice movement has run into is the assumption that their stereotypes are true. So their assumption of who a pro-lifer is and who a pro-choicer is, they assume those things are true, and they didn't see all these women in the back. It's almost exclusively a female-run movement right now. It is. Like I said, I've met a lot of these people. Lila Rose, all these people. It's almost all women, but they keep presenting this as all women universally want abortion, and I think that's one of the reasons that they're going to get ironically killed on this point. But that's beside the point. The point is, guys, we've got to stick together as a country. Demonizing each other, hating each other, all the rest of it on this topic is not going to get us anywhere. It's only going to play into the hands of the elites. You see Nancy Pelosi, she's running around with a pro-life Democrat guy like yesterday, I think it was. I was watching TYT. If these people, if this is like some sacred right to them, she wouldn't be doing that. They do not care. Pelosi doesn't care if abortion gets overturned tomorrow. And honestly, Trump and a lot of these Republicans don't care. You know, when New York passed the RHA thing where you could abort a kid up to 9 months, no Republicans did. Man, all the elite Republicans, they didn't do anything. Trump was in a pissing contest with Pelosi about the wall. So the Republican elites don't care about, ending Roe versus Wade, and the Democrat elites don't care about protecting them. Because both of them are availing themselves of any services they want because they're filthy rich. Hell, Pelosi and her folks don't have to go to a clinic. They have a private doctor in their house do that, in their mansion doing that shit. So my point is, it's going to get really ugly and really bloody and really divisive, guys. And I'm telling you, we are not each other's enemy. We're not each other's enemy. So there are going to be forces in the next days, weeks, months, maybe even a year up to the 2024. And they're going to try to divide us like crazy. And I'm pleading with you guys, we cannot let them divide us. We can't do it. And if you're blue on this issue, trust me, your leaders don't care about what you care about. And if you're red on this issue, trust me, your leaders don't care about it. I can tell you definitively, I have spoken. One of the guys is actually running for president, and he told me to my face that there was a abolitionist bill. I'm not going to name the state. There was an abolitionist bill, and it got struck down not by Democrats, but by the Republicans in his state. Because the Republicans need abortion. They need Roe versus Wade. How are you going to blackmail evangelicals to vote for you in your horrible economic systems that only benefit 0.5% of the people in this country? How in the world would you get them to vote for you other than pro-life, the pro-life issue? The irony of this whole thing is we may very well be able to get Medicare for all if we get rid of Roe. You know why? Because if you got rid of Roe, then the Republicans will have nothing to run on, because what are they going to present to people? Now that blackmail chip is out of there. And so now maybe right-wing evangelicals can finally listen to somebody on the quote left or whatever. And that might get us to the point where we can get a Medicare for all passed or whatever. It is possible. It really is. I mean, if I'd have told you a week ago, hey, Supreme Court's randomly going to strike down Roe v. Wade, you'd be like, come on, man. Like out of nowhere on a Tuesday? Come on. And yet it happened. So my thought process is, if the Republicans don't have the boogeyman of Roe v. Wade to dangle in front of people, then they're going to have to run on policy. And I firmly believe that if you just run on policy, if you take Roe off the table and you run on policy, Republicans are going to get destroyed. That's what I believe. So those are the people that we're going to need to get things like Medicare for All and all these other things passed. Right? So you're gonna have to repeal to some right wingers and say, okay, the boogeyman's off the table. Can we get some Medicare now? Can we get some school loan debt now? And think about this. Think about the ramifications, guys, because make no mistake about it. Red staters and super religious Christians or whatever. Those people are getting abortions on the low. So they're going to be in an economic bind as well. And so who knows? This thing might turn out to be the very thing that gets us Medicare for All or whatever. And BC is correct. BC is the one that broke the story to me. Correct. And as AT said, it could have been codified into law any of the 49 years since the case, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it for the same reasons that the Republicans shot down abolitionist bills in their states that could have won. Why? Because the corporate Democrats know that they need Roe to convince people to vote against their own interests, and Republicans need Roe for the same reason. So however you feel, I mean, a lot of you guys, if you're pro-choice, a lot of you guys are like I was last week, which was I can't stand the radical let's kill babies up to birth or let's kill babies anyway. I couldn't stand it, but then I thought to myself, okay, yes, but the Republicans aren't stopping abortion, and these people are fucking ruthless. No Medicare for All, no student loan debt relief, housing, X, Y, you fill in the blanks. Completely merciless vision of America. And so I had to weigh both of those in a scale. And I said to myself, okay, for the first time ever, I'm going to vote blue. I'm going to vote for this guy, Bernie Sanders. I got to do it. This guy's going to give us a shot at some sort of economic justice in America. And I had to do that sort of triage. And I think now if you're pro-choice, you got to do the same thing. You got to keep your eye on the ball. Going crazy, doxing Supreme Court justices, rioting in the streets, none of that shit is going to work. It's not going to work. Take it from me. As a person who's part of a group of people that had to grind for half a century to reverse something that we thought was unjust. No amount of clinic bombings or whatever was gonna solve the problem. It was social media campaigns, it was awareness, it was discussions, and it was strategic applications of state statutes. Okay? And so, in the meantime, if you're pro-choice, I would just say keep your eye on the ball. When you're not going to sacrifice Medicare for All, student loan debt, and all the rest of it, you're just not going to just throw that away. So that's my hope. I hope we can stay the course. And I hope that all of us can try to find some compassion, empathy, and understanding for each other in this context. Because if we're not, holy shit, did he really do that, Rig? Holy shit. That's terrible. Okay. Hillary Clinton. I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Her courage, her tenacity, her vision. I'm really in awe of her. There are a lot of lessons we can learn from her life. Yeah, like how the lesser stock are unfit and are human weeds who need to be extirpated. That is, to be pulled up from the roots from our culture. That's what Margaret Sanger said about unfit people. But Margaret Sanger was a eugenist, and she wasn't a particularly evil eugenist, because a lot of the secular mentality at the time was eugenics. Social Darwinism stuff was really cool and edgy, and all the elites held that position. And that's why they passed Buck v. Bell. Buck v. Bell, if you guys didn't know, is a Supreme Court decision in which the Supreme Court of the United States says that it is legal and constitutional to forcibly sterilize people against their will. Why? Because they were unfit. Okay? And they were going to degrade the American stock. So we don't want them reproducing. So the state can forcibly sterilize its own citizens for the health and safety of the American nation, I think was the Supreme Court decision almost verbatim. That happened in this country. So Margaret Sanger, she had horrible ideas, but she was a regular sort of elite social Darwinist person at the time being. Okay. All right, guys. Amir says, I love everything about you except for your horrendous pro-life view. That's okay. That's okay. You don't have to love 100% of my views. And that's a lesson I've had to learn, because you progressives are some of the most empathetic people on the planet that I've ever seen, except for when it comes to babies, and I truly don't understand. I really don't. But okay, guys. That's the best. That's the best that I could do with it. Thank you, guys. Listen, I'm not, unless it gets like broadcast mainstream news. I don't want to list the name of the person, so please refrain from even listing the name of the person. I feel like shit can get really, really dangerous on both sides. I feel like there's vigilantes on both sides, and I mean, I know there's batshit crazy people on my side. You got dudes running into clinics, blowing people up, shooting people and shit. And we know that there are elements on the left that can get violent and get bloody. We saw that. So we got to be really, really careful about mentioning names and things of that nature. Again, if it gets blasted on CNN or something like that, we'll cover it. But I think it's really irresponsible in our current climate to name names, whatever. Even if I had definitive, although I will say to kind of hold myself accountable, I did theorize that it was Clarence Thomas's wife. So I mean, shit, I'm hypocritical on that part. So I apologize for that. There's no truth to that whatsoever. That was just me talking off the top of my head. I shouldn't have said that, but there you go. So let's try to not speculate and name names on the leaker, man. I don't know. I'm just worried about people right now on all sides. But yeah, I mean, I could see that statistically a leftist would be nonviolent, but this is a particular issue, and people are really, really angry, and there is this sort of sophomoric attitude, kind of like the Ben Shapiro, I'm gonna own the libs, I'm drinking libs tears, and mocking people. Like, guys, when Anna is yelling and screaming and all the rest of it, or when Jink, I saw somebody, Jink was crying, whatever. Guys, this is something that they believe in, that they've dedicated their entire lives to. And so, and the people that follow them believe in this stuff, and they've invested time, money, blood, sweat, and tears. And people are really hurt and terrified right now. So to come in and spike the football and say, yeah, we're going to make the lips cry and all that, to me, it just creates this really toxic environment where somebody's going to do something. Like where I'm from, when people, like if somebody's friend just got hit, just got shot or whatever, like, and they were on the other side, like people that were not in our crew or whatever, we left those people alone. Because we're like, yo, so-and-so just got hit, blah, blah, blah. So let's just stay clear of those guys. Not that we were scared of them, but it was just like, yo, they're really emotional right now and anything can happen, right? So these folks, as I've articulated, they've got obvious reasons for why they would be terrified, valid reasons. Anna has valid reasons for why she had her meltdown. And so for us to spike the football and mock them and drink liberal tears, it's going to create a tinderbox to where somebody goes out and does something. So that's another thing. If you really like this decision, great. I'm glad. Celebrate, whatever. Although I can't celebrate because, like I said, we're nowhere close to a pro-life ethic in America. Roe v. Wade has almost nothing to do with pro-life in America. So I'm not spiking anything. But even if you think some massive victory was won, please, on your social media, I'm not telling you to edit yourself. Why would you listen to me? I'm just saying, try to hold back on spiking the football. Try to hold back on going, yeah, and all that, because you could save a life. Guys, we are contributing to the zeitgeist, and we can make it toxic, or we can be the solution. So you just gotta you got to keep that intention and understand that we've been given a great gift and responsibility with social media, but now that regular citizens can contribute to the zeitgeist, we've got to hold ourselves way more responsible now to manage our speech so that we are not inflaming a bunch of hurt and in their bones terrified people. I'm hearing a lot of fear from a lot of my pro-choice friends, and as it stands right now, there's not a lot I can say to them because I don't see any help on the horizon unless we fucking organize and get together to help people. So that's the best I could do. That's the best that I could do. I have a bigger problem when the last three Chief Justices said all said Roe v. Wade is already determined law, and now, but look, if they really wanted to put their feet to the fire, they should ask the question: will you ever overturn Roe v. Wade? And none of them answered that directly. What they said was that it was judicial precedent. Well, duh. Obviously, it's judicial precedent, but that doesn't mean that judicial precedent is an eternal decree, because like I was telling one of my best friends on the channel, if judicial precedent can't be overturned, we no longer are in a government, we're in a religion. Judicial precedent did not come down, descend from the seven heavens into the Constitution. That's not how it works. So if it can't be amended or reversed, we now have a state religion. So yeah, Roe v. Wade is precedent. You know what else is precedent? The Dred Scott decision, which said that I wasn't a full human being. Now, that particular Supreme Court decision was reversed. But there's a whole host of unjust Supreme Court decisions that, White Lion, I believe that you would support us overturning. For example, if Brett Kavanaugh drafted an end to the Buck v. Bell and drafted a reversal or a dissolution of Buck v. Bell, I'm pretty sure, White Lion, that you would support it. Because Buck v. Bell states that we can literally sterilize people against their will, which we were accused of doing during the Trump administration, by the way, in the ICE facilities. Okay? So, you definitely don't have any legal grounds, and nothing's going to happen to the justices for that. They all told the truth. So, there you go. Oh, Ian Kirby. I spent the last hour applying for a job and I got it. That's great. That's amazing. Well done. Well done. Pat says, I believe the abortion is a distraction to divide us. Listen, the memo was released not 24 hours before a major election happened. Well, not a major election, but a significant election happened. And that's why I think it was a Republican that released it, because I also believe that they were testing to see the how that kind of information would affect these votes that happened. I haven't heard anybody speculate about that, but I also think that was also strategic, because this report got done in February, and they didn't release it until like 15 hours before everybody was voting, right? And a sign is that I think it's all 22 of Trump's nominated candidates all won. So the news didn't create a sort of a blue wall, an activist blue wall. The Trumpians still won, and it looks like Donald Trump Jr. was saying it last night. He's like, oh, it's officially the MAGA party now because all 22 of those guys got their nomination. So it's pretty crazy. Now here's Sadie. God bless her. No pro-life person is going to address their lack of adoption or unwillingness to be foster parents. We were outside a clinic one time, and somebody passed by. I was the only dude there. It was all women. Somebody passed by and goes, how many people have you adopted? Of course, we had about 5 adoptions. Like 50% of the kids were all adopted. 2 of them had it wasn't spina bifida. It was something else. And it was this old couple, and they adopted this kid. He's in a wheelchair, can't talk, all the rest of it. But they'd wheel him out, and he'd have a little sign that said, "I'm valuable." Look, Sadie, I've been explicit about my issues with the pro-life community, but the fact of the matter is, evangelical Christian are adopting kids at rates far more than anybody else in our culture. It's not even close. Whether domestic adoptions or overseas adoptions, we adopt the most kids. It's just a fact. It's a fact. So I understand the stereotype. Again, I think there's a difference between your grunt on the street activist, pro-life activist. A pro-life activist, I'm just going to tell you guys, the folks who are active, who draft legislation and all that shit, adoption is the norm. And all of us were supporting kids overseas, which of course my community does that now. I'm talking about, I've got a separate YouTube community, and every month our community gives out to multiple kids. So we don't have to stereotype and demonize each other to do that. Now you could say in your experience, but there's 8 billion people on the planet, sis. And Sadie, one of the things that you should probably think through is, if I were to say killing all these Jews in this concentration camp is horrible. Oh, actually, let me give you a real life example, Sadie. During the slave trade, you had abolitionists, and people were saying, we need to get rid of slavery right now. And do you know what the moderates were saying? The moderates were saying, well, that's a very nice idea, and it's very, very sweet and cuddly, but you abolitionists to slavery are naive. They said, are you going to take in all these Negroes when they get released? Are you going to take them in? Because where are they going to go? Are you going to pay for the windfall to all my cotton crops when our economy goes in the tank because you let all these Negroes go? Well, if you're not going to take in all the Negroes, then I'm going to keep these slaves. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's just, this is why you guys keep losing, because these are terrible arguments. I don't think there's no logical reason to say, if you don't want a child to be killed, therefore you should adopt them, especially considering we've murdered 60 million of these kids, right? That's not a good argument. Secondly, like I said, pro-life activists are way more likely to adopt a child and foster a child and give their money in donations to children than people on your team. That's a statistical fact. I'm not saying that to say anything about you. I don't know what you're doing personally. I'm just saying we're much more likely to do that. And that's just a statistical fact. That's not, whatever. So, well, sis, there are a lot of solutions, right? Like I can adopt one child, or I could put the weight of the collective pressure of people like yourself, like Brent, like all these other people to say, we need to get these women help. We need to get these girls real sustainable help. So I think that would be that would go a lot more to solving the problem on a macro scale than telling people, if you don't want a child to be dissected alive in a womb, that means you should adopt them. It just logically doesn't make any sense, Sadie. It doesn't work, right? I can say I don't want Jews in a concentration camp without saying I'm going to have to take all the Jews in. I can say I don't want slavery without saying I'm going to take all the Negroes in. It's a terrible, terrible argument. It doesn't work. All right, guys. I'll take one more question, and then I gotta jump out of here. Let me ask you something, Vin. If people like me were willing to consider changes to abortion law, would you be willing to let LGBT? What do you mean, would I be willing to let them adopt children? Whether or not abortion gets passed, I want LGBT people adopting children. What are you saying? Like, and now, Stout, I'm not going to be insulted that you asked me that question. I was going to be a little bit upset that you asked me that question, but let me tell you something. I just assumed that everybody on my team would say, I don't give a fuck if they're whatever. Let them adopt. Yes, let them adopt. And so somebody made a statement about gay people adopting. I was like, oh, of course. And they jumped on me. I was like, holy shit. And I asked one of them, I said, are you saying the kid would be better in a foster home than with John and Jack? What? No, Stout. No. If LGBTQIA people want to adopt, fucking more power to them. Adopt 3 kids. Adopt 2 kids. Adopt whole families. I'm with it. I'm with it 110%. I'm with it 110%. And I apologize for being a little annoyed that you asked me the question, because it popped into my head like, no, bro, there's a whole bunch of So this is a perfect example about pro-life. This is exactly what I mean. I don't like gay people or whatever. So I would rather the kid waste away in a fucking orphanage than this gay couple adopt them. I just, so. As I said, Stout, this is the reason that we cannot spike the football, because we're so far away from an actual pro-life ethic here. You got people. So, yeah. So there you go. Would you pay women not to have abortions? Yes. I actually think, I don't want to, Alan Thompson, this guy right here, let me read what he said, because we were talking about this on text, and he really had a brilliant idea. Where is it? He said, I'm sorry, I'm going to read a personal text that you sent me, because it was a really, really good idea. He says, that being said, a woman should have the ability to perform the role of bringing new people here and be compensated for it. So I think, Andrew Yang came up with a universal basic income, right? Where everybody gets like $1,000 a month or whatever. And I'm like, bro, what if we said, below the poverty line, universal income, and then women and single women and women who say, you know what? We treat them like a small business owner, right? Because think about it. If you had a daycare facility, that's a small business, right? And then whatever. So you essentially say, all right, ladies, you are raising the next Americans. It's obviously going to be a contribution to our society. So we're going to pay you, if you want to, right? If you want to. We're talking about a person under economic duress. If you want to, basically that will be you as a small business owner, and then the government will issue you a check every month on top of Medicare for all and on top of student loan debt. And FYI, if we stopped all the wars, like, the $8 trillion we spent over the last 20 years in the war on terror, we could have oriented our society to this easily, right? So you treat the woman like a small business owner, and she gets compensated by the state to raise up amazing American citizens. She should be compensated for that. She's contributing to the public good. And so so it's not even a handout like, oh, we're giving you charity. It's like, no, you're doing something that is essential to the vitality of our country. I mean, I don't know if you guys have looked at birth rates and I mean, even secular organizations are saying, shit, we're not reproducing our society very well. So yeah, I would absolutely love that. Let's use UBI and then bias the UBI, not to people like me, not people with intact families and have businesses and economic trajectories, people under the poverty line and women. And you bias it towards them, and you know, you get X amount a month per child, whatever, until 18 or whatever, right? With a 10-child limit or something like that. What kind of country would we be? Like, there's so many things that we can do. But on our side, on the right, you have got to let go of some of that fucking money. Taxes are going to go up. It's okay. It's okay. Because we're going to be a country that celebrates life and protects our folks. So there's so many things. Yes. Give her prenatal, postnatal, physical, mental health care for free. Don't forget access to free lactation consulting, diapers, a diaper stipend, formula stipend. There's a formula shortage right now. I know that very, very well. There's so many things that we can do, but like those Emily, like those are the discussions I wish we could have. To Rick's point, look what the child tax credit did. It reduced child poverty by 30%. Look at that. Right? So we've already seen it works. Now, it took this ridiculous pandemic for us to do the right thing, but it shows this is what a government kind of social program could do. Right? 30%. What if we did that for the single mom? What if the girl, she's 16 years old, she sees the 2 lines and she goes, hey, I'm going into the business now. And hey, I got distance learning. I'm good. I'm going to get my stipend. I got a housing thing. I got the diaper thing here. I got the I'm going to be good. I'm going to be fine. And then the guidance counselor comes there and says, you're going to be good. Blah, blah. I'm going to hook you up. Remember that you took that test because she got educated in health class about how to access DHS and all this other stuff. It would be perfect. So we are a long ways away. That's why I'm not spiking the football. If you're pro-life, we're not even beginning the battle. I'm telling you, this is not it. Celebrating right now is not it. If you're celebrating right now, then you don't understand. Okay? All right. I agree with that, Emily. I agree with that. Okay. Drew, interesting question. Circumcision on babies. I don't know. I'll tell you straight up, I'm not a fan of the practice. My only hesitancy is, my Muslim friends, my Jewish friends, that it's a religious sort of requirement. But the bodily autonomy, it's really interesting because, the abortion question usually puts the bodily autonomy of the woman over the bodily autonomy of the child. If you're pro-life, you're arguing for the bodily autonomy of the child. And no kid would volunteer to have that clip. Say hi.
Hi.
Tell them your name. What's your name? Who are you?
Good.
Huh?
Good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Say, I'm Orion.
I'm Orion.
Say hi, Miss Emily.
Hi, Miss Emily.
Okay. Blow him a kiss. You got to go. Hey, come here. I love you. Can I have a kiss? Can I have a kiss? Okay. All right. Say hi to the people.
Hi guys.
Hey,
Babe,
people.
you know we gotta get to the other stream.
All right, guys. I gotta get out of here, guys. We got other work. We got other work to do. Thank you guys for hanging out. Tasco's asking how you feel about the roast situation.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I absolutely
Yeah?
hope that
Your
keeps
mommy.
going. Yeah, for sure.
Your mommy.
Yeah, I'm mommy.
That's great. Well, say I was a fetus.
I was a finish.
Yeah, you didn't want anybody to hurt you.
babies.
Don't kill baby.
Tell them God loves them.
God loves them.
Say God loves you.
God loves you.
All right. All right. I love you. Go to bed now. Mashallah.
Good night, buddy.
All right, guys. If you're familiar with the other thing that we do as a hobby, we're gonna jump into that right now. Much love to all of you guys. Oh, hey, Robert Escobar is here. If you watch Middle America, you should be watching this guy's show. Actually, he's a real actual news guy. Check him out. It's the Robert Escobar show. I think if you just YouTube it, you'll find his channel, cause he's on that gang shit. Shout out to Robert Escobar for show. Propaganda. Using cute kids to try and convince us. Hey, Amy, do me a favor. Send me an email or a text about that policy in Europe or whatever, because I want to try to introduce that into our state legislature. Because you said that the Europeans are already doing it. So if they've drafted a policy or something like that, let me know. Because I'm with some, you know me. We're always in the middle of some shit. But I would like to use that as a proposal, because we need to get that into the zeitgeist. You know, they got like a stipend for moms in Europe, where they give them X amount up to 4 kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What we were just talking about this afternoon.
Yeah, no, I know.
What's
So
up, Dwayne?
so send me that, because that's an actual solution. That's a really good solution.
And like you said, if they've already drafted it, that means they've already probably worked out some of the, issues that could arise.
Yeah.
So yeah, meet us on the other side.
All right, guys.
You guys
Listen.
can watch our awesome commercial.
It's gonna be okay, guys. I promise. It's gonna be okay as long as we stick together. We don't stick together and we let these elites continue to make us hate each other.
Right.
Then nothing's gonna change, and they're gonna win, and they're gonna win bigly. But I believe in us, y'all. All right, I'm out of here. Vin out.
Story out.
In the meantime, love your neighbor, take care of each other. Middle America, we are the media. Till next time, guys.